Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today in this very brief introduction to the summer online retreat that I'll be offering called An Ocean of Joy. Really looking forward to offering this 8-week online meditation program. And so I have a bit of a presentation here that I'm going to just launch into now as a way of introducing the program. And if you have any questions or comments, please always feel free to message me through Facebook Messenger or through my website, suchsweetthunder.org. So I'm just getting the slides up here. Here we go. Okay, so An Ocean of Joy Summer Retreat. The dates of this 8-week program are May 22nd to July 13th, 2022. And so joy is one of the Brahma Viharas, as it's known in the Buddhist tradition, or they are known in the Buddhist tradition. And Brahma Vihara is a Sanskrit term or a Pali term, the language the Buddha spoke, which translates to the home of the gods or the dwelling of the gods. And I like to really point that out because it really underscores the importance of these 4 quadrants of the heart: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And that if one takes up a practice that is designed to cultivate these qualities, that can lead as far as any spiritual practice can lead, all the way up to the top of the mountain, so to speak, to nirvana, to freedom, to the cessation of suffering. So these practices aren't, trivial. They're not to be taken lightly. They are very deep and very profound, even though the quality of joy can sometimes sound quite frivolous. It's actually a very, very profound spiritual practice. So these are just a few of the qualities of joy that we will be exploring over the 8-week course. We'll be exploring the joy that's inherent in a collected mind. In meditation, basically, that's what we'll be doing, is collecting our mind, collecting our awareness around the present moment. There's the joy of generosity, the beauty of giving. There's so many neurological studies out now that really highlight how generosity is so healing for our nervous system. We'll be looking at the joy of gratitude, which in a sense is quite connected to the joy of generosity. That when we receive generosity from another with gratitude, we're actually giving that person the opportunity to experience generosity. And so these are intimately connected in that way. We'll be exploring sympathetic joy and how we can allow our hearts to resonate with the joy of all other beings. And for me, that's quite extraordinary, because you think about how many other beings there are. 7.8 billion people in the world, 7.8 billion opportunities for joy. We'll be exploring the joy of being, simply the joy of being in the present moment, which transcends the duality of agreeable and disagreeable. We'll also be looking at the joy of overcoming and transforming challenges into opportunities. When we really wholeheartedly engage in this path, there are no more obstacles. everything we encounter is simply a feature of the landscape of the path. And we'll be looking at the joy of freedom from reactivity. We cultivate the spaciousness of mind and heart so that when emotions arise that tend to give energy to reactivity, such as the emotions of anger or fear or rage or longing or desire or craving, we have space enough in the heart to hold those emotions without moving into yelling, kicking, punching, screaming, shouting, or clinging or grasping, and so forth. And so throughout the course, we'll be exploring the very traditional meditation practices that help cultivate this quality of joy. These practices come from the Buddhist tradition, both the Theravada tradition and the Mahayana tradition. However, I will be delivering these practices in a completely secular voice. So people from all walks of life and all religions, all faiths, all beliefs, all are welcome and all can equally benefit from these really, really extraordinary practices. In addition to that, we'll be taking a deep dive into neuroplasticity and how we can literally rewire our brains for future tendencies towards qualities of joy and happiness. As the old saying says, the neurons that fire together wire together. And so with these practices, in combination with neuroplasticity, we get those neurons firing and wiring together towards future experiences of joy. So this practice of joy often gets kind of lumped in with the toxic positivity, that if we're really just taking a deep dive into joy for 8 weeks, we'll be blind to all of the sadness and the suffering that's happening in the world. I could honestly say that nothing could be further from the truth. That in fact, joy is a nourishing quality, a quality of resource that allows our nervous system to much more deeply encounter the sufferings of the world. In fact, it's thought in many traditions that joy is what allows the space for compassion. That compassion is the roots of this tree of joy. The leaves and the branches, the foliage, that's the joy, and compassion are the roots. And one could say that compassion is the heart which trembles in the face of suffering. When we are encountering another person in the midst of struggle or in pain, our heart trembles to that frequency. And joy is the heart which trembles in the face of the beautiful. So our heart trembling in a very similar way as compassion, but just resonating to a much different frequency. So they serve each other. And in the course, we will be looking at this as well, how joy can really help us in our compassionate endeavors in life. And so Jack Gilbert here really speaking to this very beautifully in this poem. I'll just read this very quickly here. If we deny our happiness and resist our satisfaction, we deny and trivialize their suffering and deprivation. We must have the stubbornness to enjoy the pleasures within the furnace of the suffering of this world. For to make injustice the only measure of our attention is to praise the devil. To make injustice the only measure of our attention is to praise the devil. So these practices of joy really allow us to take a deeper look at the sufferings of the world without falling into reactivity, without shutting down our heart in the face of that suffering. And joy feels good. So I really welcome you to come and explore these practices with me. And so as the course unfolds over the 8 weeks, we'll be moving through these stages, again, bringing all of those different types of joy through these stages of the joy practice. And this is a kind of a traditional way that joy would be offered in a Buddhist setting. Again, the offering is completely secular, but my training is in Buddhism, so that's my comfort zone. So I'm really drawing a lot from both Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism. So we spend 4 weeks cultivating joy for ourselves. And then we spend 1 week sending that joy out to loved ones, another week sending it to strangers, the second to last week sending it to people who we might find challenging or difficult. And then in the final week, we send joy out to the entire world. Really a beautiful practice. So here's the bottom line and a little more detail here. Again, May 22nd to July 13th, 2022. If you're familiar with my previous online courses, those have generally been around the same time and days of week. This course is being offered in a much different time frame because I will be teaching at the New Life Foundation in Portugal rather than teaching from Thailand. So the time zones are different, and so I had to tailor the offering accordingly. So hopefully this is good news for some. The sessions will be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays and Wednesdays, East Coast time. And that's 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays from where I'll be in Portugal. And just, adjust your clocks accordingly or calculate your time according to that. The whole package includes one-to-one sessions with myself throughout the 8 weeks. You don't have to pay extra for that. Most sessions will have a guided meditation at least one. Some of them have 2. In addition, one of the great benefits is that the sessions are live. They're also recorded, and I'll get to that in a moment. But in the live Zoom room, I cap the program at 20 people. And so that creates kind of an intimate vibe. And the participants really get to know each other. And we create kind of a cohort going through this course together. So there's a lot of exchange, a lot of sharing, and a lot of support that's offered within the community. I find that to be tremendously beneficial. Plenty of opportunity for Q&A throughout the course. Everything that I offer is offered within a trauma-sensitive framework. I've been certified in trauma-sensitive mindfulness through David Treleaven, and I'm passionate about making these teachings available to people regardless of how they're showing up to the program. In a similar vein, I offer everything in a secular voice. I've mentioned this a couple of times already, but just to speak to that again, although my training is in Buddhism, I've practiced Buddhism now for 36 years, trained very deeply in several different traditions. I am passionate about bringing these wonderful and liberating teachings to people from any faith, any belief, any walk of life. Everything will be recorded over Zoom. And so if you find 8 weeks just impossible to commit to being in the same place twice a week for 8 weeks, and you feel like you need to miss a couple of the sessions or half of the sessions, or even if you want to do the whole course in your own time, you're welcome to do that. Everything is recorded over Zoom. And the recordings are made available only to the retreat participants as a way of holding that container of safety so that we all really do feel free and safe to share from our heart. The whole package, including all of that, is $99. If you find the price tag restrictive and you'd like to do the course, but you just can't afford that for whatever reason, please let me know. There's plenty of scholarships available, and we'll find a way for you to get into the course if you would like to be there. To register, go to my website, suchsweetthunder.org, or message me through my email, chrisluard@yahoo.com. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you on the retreat. And that's all I've got. I'm taking the slides down now. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure presenting this course material. And again, I hope to see you all on the retreat. Thank you.